Σας χαιρετούμε όλοι από το πάνελ. Allow me to introduce this session in English at this stage. We're very pleased to have reached this point of our conference, one session before last. We must all be quite tired by now, but I'm sure that the two speakers that they will follow right now, they will make us wake up with a very interesting and important themes and topics that they're going to present to us. And this is going to be probably the only, I think, mixed language session. We start with Jim Gore. His baptismal name is Dimitrios, Assistant Professor of Clinical Medicine, Division of Rheumatology and Immunology, University of Vanderbilt Medical Group in Franklin, Tennessee. He's also director and I think the founder of St. Sampson Medical Clinic, based at the Holy Trinity Greek Orthodox Church, Nashville, Tennessee. And he's going to present to us the work of that St. Sampson Medical Clinic that he has founded and directing and serving in the USA. Thank you for coming to our conference.
Thank you. Your Eminences, Your Graces, Reverend Fathers, monastics, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. First, I would thank Father Stavros for inviting me. Also, I would thank Father Stavros and Presbytera for the very warm hospitality. First, I need to start and give some context. There are some places in the United States where Orthodox Christianity is well known. Nashville, Tennessee is not one of those places. If you walk down the street in Nashville, Tennessee, if you ask a person, what does it mean to be Greek Orthodox? Less than 1% will know what you're talking about. The dominant religion of the area is evangelical Protestants, which was how I was raised. I was raised Southern Baptist. I converted to Orthodoxy in 2005. Within the next year, I was at an Orthodox Bible study, and the priest said, he said this to the group, did you know that there is no Greek Orthodox hospital or medical clinic in the United States of America? I find that a disgrace. I find that shameful. I felt like he was talking to me. I felt like he was looking at me. But what could I do? Fast forward to 2010, specifically June 27th, 2010. My wife and our twin 4-year-olds were going out of town for a family event. I was on call. I had to stay in the city, and so I went to liturgy by myself. So for the first time in 4 years, Father Gregory had my undivided attention for his homily. He spoke the story of St. Sampson. Sampson, as you know, was a physician, and he healed the emperor of Rome when nobody else could. He was then offered practically whatever he wanted, and he chose a hospital for the poor. Father Gregory ended his homily with saying, you don't have to try and change the world. Just do your little part. When he said that, I had a moment of inspiration. What if I started a Greek Orthodox medical clinic here at our parish? We had just been approved for a new administration building. What if we could have a part-time medical clinic out of that administration building? There were very many discussions, But eventually, there was approval from His Eminence Metropolitan Nicholas, Father Gregory, the Parish Council, the Parish Assembly. I can tell you that there were many times when I was going through this process that I felt like a little boy with 5 loaves and 2 fishes. And I would ask, Christ, I have such little to give in the face of such great need. Is it really worth it? Is this really going to make a difference? And the reply that I heard was, it's okay, just do your little part. So, there's a picture of St. Sampson. So, I heard the homily in 2010. In February of 2012, I saw the first patient there at St. Sampson Clinic. I wanted to share also briefly about the clinic structure. The clinic is for uninsured adult rheumatology patients. As an employee at Vanderbilt, I can only see patients at another clinic who have no insurance. I'm only board certified to treat adult rheumatology patients. The clinic would be one Saturday a month at the local Greek Orthodox parish. When I started in some of the discussions, people offered and said, why don't you have the clinic somewhere else where there actually is a medical clinic with exam tables? And I said, no. If we had the clinic somewhere else, why would anybody assume that it was an Orthodox medical clinic? However, if the clinic is at the parish, then not only the patients, but also the referring providers would have to acknowledge that the Orthodox Church was engaged in helping to serve those in need. The clinic would be by appointment only, so there would not be droves of people showing up to be seen. We also had an electronic medical record system designed for the clinic. Patients would be referred from primary care clinics. So in the United States, there are many different charity primary care clinics. Some of those are funded by local, state government. Some of those are funded by other churches. By requiring the patients to be referred, it requires the appropriate patients are coming to me. Also, these primary care clinics have access to laboratory tests and imaging. So we did not need any kind of blood draws or labs at the parish. Also, the primary care clinics would be able to manage primary care issues such as hypertension or diabetes. And then we would be able to send back our notes to the primary care clinics through the internet, through a confidential way. So the patients would come into the clinic, we would evaluate them, we would give them orders for a laboratory test or an x-ray. They would take back to the primary care clinic, they would have those tests performed, they would send those back to us, we would see the patient, and then we would give them a prescription. In rheumatology, the medicines are generally speaking either very cheap or very, very expensive. The clinic has had a significant influence on our parish. The clinic is 100% volunteer. So from the parish, we have volunteer coordinator, we have nurses, administration. My wife plays a key role in helping with a lot of the administration duties. We have a group of yayas who cook lunch for us. We have a board of directors, we have IT personnel, we have financial donations from Philoptikos, from AHEPA. Many of our patients are Spanish speaking, so we have translators, and of course we have providers. We have had 4 different providers at the clinic. Only one, myself, is actually Orthodox. The other ones were other denominations who wanted to help. Initially, the church provided volunteers, the church provided the location. However, over the course of time, the church came to me and offered that they wanted to help financially as well. The clinic has had a significant benefit for these referring clinics. So the referring clinics would have patients who had very severe arthritis. However, they were not able to treat them. They were not able to give them the medicine. So they would see these patients deteriorate, but they did not have access to specialists. When I first started the clinic, I told 2 other primary care clinics that were located in 2 different counties. Today, we have had patients from 35 counties in our state and from a couple of neighboring states. Patients travel from 3 hours in one direction to come to the clinic. That's all been spread through word of mouth. I recall one referral about a year ago from a physician 40 minutes away, and the referral simply said, patient has severe arthritis, send them to the clinic at the Greek Orthodox Church. So the first patient was seen in February of 2012. As of September 1st, 2017, we've seen 587 patients for just over 1,600 patient visits. Through the clinic, we've been able to have patients approved for over $1.5 million in free medications. As a point of reference, our clinic was started on less than $10,000. From the beginning of the clinic, then one idea that I wanted to implement was I wanted to have patients write comment cards. So these comment cards would be in their own handwriting, and they would put their initials and they would put the date. I want to share with you 3 of them. So this one says, my first visit, I could barely walk. Dr. Gore put me on Humira and helped get me on disability. I'm nearly off of my cane. It has been a huge turnaround in my quality of life. His initials are CB. When I first saw CB, I made the diagnosis in 2 seconds. The problem was I had never personally seen a case that severe. He had a condition called ankylosing spondylitis. And it's a disease of arthritis that causes fusion of the spine. It starts in the low back, and in his case, went all the way up his spine. When he walked, he could not extend his back more than 90 degrees. He could not move his neck at all. So he had to walk facing down to the floor with his hand and his cane in front of him. When I saw him, I had 2 emotions. One was empathy, because he was in his mid-40s, and I know by the course of the disease that he'd suffered for many years and would continue to suffer. The second was frustration, a frustration that I honestly had not felt before or afterwards. When I saw him walking in, my thought was, God, why did you bring this patient here? You know I can't help him. There's nothing I can do. He sat down and he was very optimistic. He had a bright outlook. And when I talked to him and I asked him, why are you not on disability? And he said, well, I'm waiting for my lawyer. And I said, forget your lawyer. Apply for disability. You will get it. And then I asked him, were you ever on a medicine such as Humira, which is a very expensive medicine, but a medicine that could have prevented him from progressing so much? He said, well, I was offered the medicine many years ago, but I had concerns about the side effects, and so I never took it. So I talked with him, and I alleviated his concerns about the side effects, and then he asked me, could I go on the medicine? Could you get it for me? And I said, yes, I can. He said, will it help? I said, well, it may help with some of your pain. I don't think it will help with your mobility. After 3 or 4 months, he came back. He had a look of joy. I had a look of surprise. He could now extend to about 120, 130 degrees when he walked. And I'm sure I looked confused on my face, and I asked him, you're better, right? He said, oh, yes. For the first time in 10 years, I can walk from my couch to the bathroom without a cane. He asked me again, will I get better? I said, I don't know. He came back in another 4 months, and now he was walking, he could extend to about 160 degrees. So he was mostly upright. He said, when I'm at home, I don't need the cane at all. When I'm walking around, if I don't know the terrain, then I use a cane. He had hope when I had very little hope. This next comment card was not written by the patient because the patient does not speak English. She only speaks Spanish. It says, this means so much to us. I bring my mom to see the doctors, and everyone are so wonderful. God bless you for your time and effort to help people in need. I put this up because when we see a patient, or when a chaplain sees a person in the hospital, relatively speaking, you spend a very short amount of time. But the family sees them all day long, every day, week after week. And when we can give hope to the patient, we're also giving hope to the family. This was written in 2014 by a patient whose initials are RK. And it says, this clinic has restored my hope for a healthy life. Thank you to all that make this possible. This young man, when I saw him, was in his late 20s. He had very severe psoriasis, skin disease that covered about 70% of his body. And he had very severe arthritis affecting his spine and other joints as well. He had taken a medicine called Enbrel, which is similar to Humira, and had been on it and had done really, really well. But then, as a screening test, he had a positive skin test for tuberculosis. He was told, you can never take this medicine again, and you have to get off of it immediately. He got off of the medicine, his arthritis came back, he lost his job, he had no insurance. He was married and he had 2 small children. When I talked to him, he said, you know, I don't think that there's much you could do, but I had nowhere else to turn. All I would like is to play with my children again. So I asked him, did you actually have tuberculosis or just that positive test? He said, well, I just had the positive test. I said, okay, well, if your chest x-ray is negative, you can go on an antibiotic for 9 months, but you can go back on Enbrel. And of course, both he and his wife cried. He did not have tuberculosis. He went back on Enbrel. He went back on the medicine, and he did very well. John 15:5, I am the vine, you are the branches. If you remain in me and I in you, you will bear much fruit. Apart from me, you can do nothing. I believe that this clinic was founded, that the clinic continues because of the blessing of Christ, because of the intercessions of the Theotokos and of St. Sampson. I included here the website, stsamsonclinic.com. It's a very, very simple website because I created it. There are other comment cards on there. There also is a link to a video presentation that includes more details about the flow of patients through the clinic and also about different demographics of the patients. Doxa dou Theou, ευχαριστώ.